What's up guys, it's CG. So this is going to be a thorough review of Pardon by the House of Nasomatto. First I'm going to give you guys a rundown so you have a general idea what the fragrance is about. Then I'm going to share how users rated the scent profile and the performance. My wife and I are going to share our impressions of it. And finally I'm going to share my overall opinion after wearing it. Without further ado, let's get this started. So this fragrance is really one of a kind. I've never smelt anything like it. To me, it's got a definite chocolate kind of background vibe. I wouldn't say it's really emphasized on the chocolate. I get a dried, dense fruit smell with chocolate and spices up top that are freshening the whole thing. It really comes across as overcast days, classic masculinity, understated, assertive masculine energy. I think it's a really nice fragrance for what it is, and as always, the notes are not listed on Nasomatto's website. On average, users rated the scent an 8.2. About 3 out of 4 people would give it an 8 or above, and 1 out of 10 people roughly would give it a 10, considering it to be one of the greatest things they ever smelt. Now, I'm gonna just be honest here. That's my only job on this channel. I've seen reviews on YouTube where people tout that this is the best thing they've smelled all year, and I've seen a lot of people say this is the greatest fragrance they've ever tried, the best of Nasomatto. I respect their opinions, and I objectively can say this is very well blended, has great craftsmanship, it's very unique. It's also really wearable, which is something I appreciate, and has good performance. But overall for me, I just felt so underwhelmed by this one. Like, it wasn't really speaking to my personality. That's not to say anything's wrong with the fragrance, but I personally would give it a 7. I had such an attitude of indifference. I didn't feel like it was bad, but I didn't feel like it was good. It seems like one that if I had it, it would just collect dust. Like, I would never really feel compelled to reach for it. That's just my personal taste. For longevity, it got an average rating of an 8.7, key votes being 8 or above. About 90% of voters would agree it has good performance. My rating would actually be a 10 on this one. This stuff really lasts forever. Like, it's definitely one that is hard to get off of my clothes. It lasts the full workday and then some. Very happy with the longevity of this one. Sillage got an average rating of an 8, key vote being 8. Almost half of users would rate it as an 8. My personal rating would be a 9. I was really happy with the scent bubble on this one. It really pushes out, but because of its creamy, almost soft-like nature, it doesn't feel like something that's way too forceful on the environment. So overall, like, I'm very happy with the performance of this one. Again, I respect other people's opinions, but this one just really felt not for me in the scent profile department. Before I get into describing how I interpret the scent profile, I want to say that this is definitely touted as a masterpiece. I think you should try it no matter what, just based on the positive feedback it's received. Some of my friends that I respect the most have tried a lot of things, really love this one. So I went into this with really high expectations, but ultimately I was disappointed with this fragrance in particular. That's not to say that I have some super refined nose, super refined taste. I just have my taste, and on this channel I just document my honest experience with fragrances and what they did for me. That's all I can do at best. So I'm not here to drag Pardon or anything at all. I actually do not think it's a bad fragrance. It just didn't really excite me. So what I get from the scent on the opening, it's actually my favorite part because I get a blast of spice with a bit of oud, and it comes across as really fresh. And I actually like that part. It's kind of like it hits me and I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Like, when it hit me, I was like, this is unique. It's different. I really like the freshness of the spices, and everything just feels so alive, and it feels so radiant. But unfortunately, when it goes into the dry down, which it happens really fast, I'm talking like 5 minutes later, it feels like everything that was lively about the fragrance, the really nice dose of oud, the spices, everything just being really fresh, just kind of dies into something that I feel like is dull and flat. And I feel rather uninspired by it. What I get in the dry down, to describe the scent, one of the things I get that I never hear described or mentioned, this is just where my brain goes with it, is I get a dried fruit smell, like for real. And it makes me think of the fruit aspect in Jubilation 40. It kind of makes me think of the fruit in Halfeti Cedar. It kind of makes me think of the apple in Promise by Frederick Malle. Not necessarily, there's no apple note. I'm just saying in that whole, almost like a dehydrated fruit. Like if you think of the difference between a fresh grape and like a raisin, and how a raisin would have like a bit more density to it, and how it would come across different if you were to smell the inside of a raisin versus a grape. I hope that makes sense. That's what I get here. It's like a dehydrated fruit almost, like a dense fruit core that reminds me of Jubilation 40. So if I had to say it's anything, it's almost like a dehydrated blackberry. Pardon doesn't smell like Jubilation 40, and when I smell them side by side, I say, oh, they're totally different. But there's something about the fruit nature of this fragrance that reminds me of Jubilation 40. It's weird. With that, I get a protein powder smell in the background, a very subtle, like if you ever worn Dior Homme Intense, on that opening, it's like there's almost like a chocolate protein powder thing going, but it's almost like a weird optical illusion in the sense that if you think about it, you smell it, but if you don't really. So it's not like this is overly chocolate for me. But it has that chocolate protein powder with almost like a dried fruit smell. And then in the top, you have a spice that's giving it a freshness. It's hard to say what that spice is. It's almost like a kind of like a nice cinnamon fresh spice to some extent. Those are the three components I get from Pardon, but I can't emphasize enough how much that dried fruit core is like a huge theme for me and what my nose just focuses in on. In the dry down, it becomes creamy, and I just don't like creamy fragrances. I feel like this is where it falls apart for me. Creamy to me is just flat. Like anytime the only creamy fragrance that I've smelt that I kind of like is the Matcha 26. I don't know why I like that one, but pretty much every other fragrance, if it's creamy, then I just get bored of it. To me, creamy, like it doesn't excite me. It feels dull. It feels boring. It feels flat. So this dried fruit core and the spicy top and all that's going on with Pardon, when it becomes creamy, I just feel so bored by it. I'm sitting there smelling it though, and I'm like, is this like anything else I've tried in my life? Absolutely not. It's very creative. Is this smell good? Yes. Is this wearable? Yes. I could see a businessman wearing this. It has almost a laid back, assertive, masculine vibe. It feels like gray suits on an overcast day, very calming. I could see a businessman wearing this to like an important meeting, and I could see somebody wearing this casually on a night out. So it feels very wearable. It smells like nothing else out there. I do believe it's well blended. So it's one of these things where I could objectively tell it's a great fragrance, but it just doesn't win me over. It's like it falls flat on me, and I think that's okay. You know, I'm not going to like everything out there. Now, here's the thing. With Pardon, I want to give it more of a chance because honestly, like that's what I do. I give fragrances chances. Some of the things I felt like not excited by initially, I ended up loving later on. And while I love that Nasomatto does the 30 ml bottles because I don't usually need 100 ml of a fragrance, I'd rather have the 30 ml. The problem with that is it's very hard to get decants at a reasonable price. So I feel like the only way for me to give this fragrance more of a chance would be to buy a bottle of it. And I just don't feel inspired to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like one of those ones that I would either end up selling or it would collect dust. It would be like a high risk buy for me. And then getting samples are really expensive. Like just getting this 2 ml was hella expensive because of that 30 ml bottle concept. But I would love to get Pardon more of a chance, but it's just hard with the Nasomattos to do that. I do think it's objectively a great fragrance, but it just feels overall not for me. It's just not, I feel like maybe my expectations were set so high because of all the positive things I've read about it. I get comments regularly of people saying you should try Pardon. What my friends said about it, and it just feels like I was underwhelmed by this fragrance overall. Like it didn't meet the expectations I placed on it in my head.
Nasomatto Pardon or Pardon. Let's see. I like the name. See, this one, I can't say anything about the name because it is cute. Pardon. I would name it Oopsie, but that's me. I don't hate it either. Okay, so I don't hate it, but it is different. Like, it smells good. I think there's a lot of vanilla in this. And other than vanilla, and like, it smells like a pastry, like a donut. So I guess what a pastry is like vanilla and certain different other spices. But it is really good. It is sweet and not necessarily masculine, although I see a man wearing it and not being weird, but only in the fall and winter. Maybe even the spring, just not in the heat. I like it. I'm gonna give it, you know what? I'm gonna give it an 8, even though it's not my usual.
I want you to compare.
Thing.
Hold on to that. I want you to compare that one. I see a connection here, but I might be crazy. And the connection I'm seeing, I'm just curious if you see any connection and which one you like more.
So I understand the connection, but this one, the one that you just gave me, has a lot of like fruitiness to it. Like a raisins or dark berry fruit, almost like a wine. And this one doesn't. So
How would you say they're similar though?
I would say they both are sweet scents, but in different senses. Like this is a vanilla pastry and this is a candy.
So overall, Pardon is not for me. I mean, if I found a really good deal on like a used bottle, like $80, and it was like a high partial, I maybe would get it to give it a chance and just sell it if it doesn't work out. But it's hard to give these fragrance chances. Overall, I just feel uninspired and underwhelmed by Pardon. I'm not really into it, but I respect the fragrance. I think objectively it hits all markers, and I do think you should try it if you can, because I respect other people's opinions. A lot of people really love this one, and it is unique and it is well done. Feel free to comment with y'all's opinions, subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.